Texas women's basketball has been competing in March Madness since this past Saturday. While men's basketball season is over after a disappointing loss to Xavier, but there's a new coach calling the shots. Texas baseball had an intense first SEC home series against the visiting LSU Tigers. And finally, MLB Opening Day is Thursday. What can we look forward to in the 2025 season? All this and more on College Press Box. Good evening and welcome back to College Press Box. My name is Santiago Ortiz, hosting alongside my co-host Tyler Strempel. Before we get started, we want to remind you that College Press Box is brought to you by Cat Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everything in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's game at catmetro.org. March Madness is rolling and the number one seeded Texas Longhorns have been handling business. Let's take a look at this past Saturday's matchup against William and Mary. Here early, it's the seal from Shea Holley and the fast break layup to give the Longhorns the early lead. That would be followed by Rory Harmon pushing the ball up the fast break, taking the ball up the court, finishing with the left hand. And now she's back on the attack with the fast break as she pushes up, gives it to Brianna Preston, who gives it back to Harmon for the 18-foot jumper from the free throw. And here we have Longhorn superstar Madison Booker, who swings it to Rory Harmon, who dishes it down low to Kyla Oldacre and for the layup. And Shea Holley with the 10-foot jumper, followed up by a Madison Booker 13-foot jumper from the left wing. The Longhorns dominated this game against William Mary as Jordan Lee gets a kick out for the three. It was smooth sailing here as the Longhorns were able to defeat William Mary 105-61. Looking forward to their next matchup against the 8-seeded Fighting Illini Monday at 1 p.m. Nolan Clay covered the rowdy round of 64 matchup this past Saturday. Here was his coverage.
After a historic regular season, the Texas women's basketball team started their trek to the national championship as they played here at the Moody Center in the round of 64 in the NCAA tournament against William and Mary. While William and Mary was a 16 seed and a heavy underdog, they didn't play like it. In the first quarter, they were only outscored by Texas by 5 points, and they scored 18 points against one of the top defenses in the country. However, in the end, Texas was able to pull away because of their physicality and just overall size that William and Mary just couldn't match. And that was reflected in the stat sheet as Taylor Jones scored 19 points and Kyla Oldacre also had 15 points along with 15 rebounds. And let's not forget about Madison Booker as well. With her 20 points and 14 rebounds, which is just one shy of Kyla Oldacre, she really showed off why she was the SEC Player of the Year this season.
Our problem tonight wasn't offensively, y'all. It was defensively. Like, we were a wreck. We just really blew a lot of assignments. Out-of-bounds defense was horrible. That's what's got me all sideways.
Coach Schaefer was not happy with the Longhorns' performance tonight as they gave up 61 points to a 16 seed. However, this tournament is about surviving and advancing, and the Longhorns did that and more tonight. Their next test is against Illinois here at the Moody Center on Monday at 1 p.m. Yes, you heard that right. Monday at 1 p.m. And let's just say Coach Schaefer wasn't very happy about that.
On that topic, Vic, you of course have no say what time a game tips off, but what are the difficulties of crafting your team's game?
That will be the round of 32, where both teams will be looking to book a ticket to the Sweet 16. I'm Nolan Clay, reporting for TSTV Sports.
What a dominant victory at the Moody Center. Now for more analysis on that matchup, I'll toss it to Tyler Strempel for the first time tonight. Tyler?
Thanks, Santi. I'm with Abby Saenz, who had the opportunity to cover this past Saturday's blowout victory. Welcome to Press Box, Abby.
Thank you, Tyler. I'm so excited to be here. I had an amazing opportunity to be in attendance at the game and take some photos of the Longhorns in action, so it was pretty great.
Well, fantastic. So we're going to get right into it. Everyone thinks that with a blowout victory, the Texas women's basketball dominated on all aspects of the floor. Abby, what did you see and what happened there during the first half?
Yeah, so absolutely. Texas was coming off of a 2-week game break, and that showed. The first quarter of the game was rusty for the Longhorns defensively. Number 16, Marion William, only trailed one of the top defensive teams in the nation by 5. Texas could not get something rolling, with the Tribe shooting 58% during the first quarter. Coach Schaefer was not happy, and neither were the players with their performance. But that's all they needed. Texas came out of the first half stronger, getting the ball to roll in their favor offensively, outscoring the Tribe by 16 points in the third quarter and 11 in the fourth. Madison Booker proved why she was named SEC Player of the Year with 20 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 assists. Taylor Jones was not far behind with 19 points and 6 rebounds. Coach Schaefer expressed his gratitude during the press conference, exclaiming that if the team can win by 44 and still have things to work on, that's pretty good.
Yeah, Coach Schaefer is recently starting a 4-guard lineup. How do you think the lineup has changed to look for Texas as of late?
Well, Coach Schaefer has said numerous times that this lineup has been the one working the best for Texas. Texas's guards have been dominant on the floor, and it doesn't get better than having Rory Harmon and Madison Booker on the court at the same time. Since the change-up, Texas's field goal percentages have increased, and their defensive stats are confidently rising, having an impact on their overall gameplay. Texas's shooting percentages have been above 50%, giving teams a hard opponent to face. But don't get me wrong, when we have those bigs come in, such as when Intanda and Oldacre, the team is just as dominant on the floor.
Absolutely. So now with Texas's next opponent being Illinois, what do you think needs to be a focus for Texas in coming into this game?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tyler. Now, I will say, Illinois will just be another game for Texas to prove why they are ranked number 1 seed. Their main focus should be working on the defensive end, trying to slow down that Illinois pace, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an early press from Texas. As long as we see our Longhorns slow the face down and take control of the game, I believe their road to the championship is looking pretty bright.
Thank you so much for joining us again, Abby. Great analysis. Back to you at the desk, Santi.
Thanks, Tyler and Abby. Yesterday, Texas defeated the Illinois Fighting Illini. Our very own Ryan Hopper covered it all, and here's what he had to say.
I'm here at the Moody Center where Texas women's basketball won the turnover battle today 20-10 and ended up winning the game 65-48 over Illinois, though this game was not as close as that scoreline would suggest. The Longhorns were up 24 after 3 quarters, and Illinois was shooting less than 33% from the field. Just stifling defense from Vic Schaefer's squad all over the floor. And an unlikely second leading scorer, Jakalenga Menwanatanda, 19 points and 7 rebounds. It was a career night for her. Madison Booker predictably led the way for the Longhorns with 20. But head coach Vic Schaefer after the game telling everybody what he told Jakalenga after her performance against William & Mary just 2 days ago.
You know, the other night she came in and she struggled defensively. And so it's hard. You know, you're throwing a 3-player into a new position, and that's what we've had to do with her. And that's part of the ham and egging that I'm talking about. And she has really handled it fantastic, in my opinion. She's really been great.
For the final time, live from the Moody Center, I'm Ryan Hopper for TSTV Sports.
When College Press Box returns, Texas men's hoop season is finished after a disappointing loss against Xavier, but there is a new head coach in town for the Longhorns. We'll be back after this.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Last week, Texas men's basketball season ended in tragic fashion in what has been an underwhelming inaugural season in the SEC. For more, let's go to Santi.
Thanks, Tyler. I'm joined now by Perla Paredes. Perla, how are you doing? How was your spring break?
It was good. I needed that break, so it was fun.
Yeah, got you. Well, now let's get into some Texas men's basketball. Perla, kind of tell me what went wrong for Texas against Xavier last Wednesday.
Yeah, Texas came out strong, dominated in the paint in the first half and building a 13-point lead, but Xavier made key defensive adjustments after halftime, limiting Texas just to 10 points in the paint. Texas also struggled to counter that, and late-game execution became a major issue. The Longhorns allowed a 16-6 Xavier run in the final 6 minutes and couldn't get the stops they needed. Combined with that, with the gold shooting from the field late, Xavier just took full advantage of the Longhorns.
Yeah, for sure. And, that was a very rough loss for Rodney Terry and this team. How far do you think that this Texas team would have had to advance for Rodney Terry to have kept his job?
Yeah, realistically, Texas needed like a Sweet 16 run at minimum after an Elite 8-game finish in 2023. Expectations were high, obviously, but an up and down season put Terry on the hot seat like we all knew all season long. 19-16 record and a first 4 exit didn't cut it, especially in a program that has just entered the SEC and needs to establish itself after leaving the Big 12. Whether fair or not, the athletic department wanted more, and this result made the decision easier for the Texas leadership that eventually, we got the results that we got, I guess.
Yeah. And then now, what does the future look like for Texas with new head coach Sean Miller from Xavier actually taking over now for the Longhorns?
Yeah, well, it felt like a little bit like a deja vu moment for Texas athletics, just like Texas baseball hiring Jim, I'm gonna not pronounce his name correctly, but Schlossnagle from Texas A&M. After losing to them in the postseason, Texas basketball is now bringing in the coach who just ended their season. It was just kind of unexpected, but Miller is an experienced coach with a track record of deep tournament runs, and his focus on defensive and player development could be exactly what Texas needs. In the SEC, the roster will likely see more changes through the transfer portal, especially like key players leaving, like the all-star freshman Trey Johnson, but expect Texas to come back competitive quickly under Miller, I would say.
Yeah. Well, all right. Thanks for joining us, Perla. Thanks for giving us some insight on Texas men's basketball. I'm going to send it back over to Tyler.
All right, thank you for your analysis, Perla. When College Press Box returns, we'll talk about the hyped SEC home opening series at the Dish between the Longhorns and the number 2 ranked LSU Tigers. And MLB Opening Day is right around the corner. We'll break it all down for you. You won't want to miss it.
This weekend, Texas baseball, fresh off a sweep against Mississippi State, welcomed the number 2 LSU Tigers in what was a battle between 2 championship-caliber teams. Our own Joseph Duffey covered the rubber match finale this past Sunday.
For Coach Jim Schlossnagle, it's been a long time coming since the controversial move from Texas A&M, in which he would deem himself and his staff as the Satans of baseball. Now against number 2 LSU this past weekend, there was a lot that the Longhorns were playing for.
Texas baseball fans have been waiting for a signature series win in the Coach Schloss era, and what an opportunity it was in the SEC home opening series against the visiting number 2 LSU Tigers. The Sunday rubber match between 2 college baseball juggernauts and now conference opponents saw Texas spraying the entire field in offense from players like Max Ballou with the 2-run home run, leading to a 6-2 victory. But one of the best stories in college baseball was vindicated once more when watching this pitching turnaround for Max Weiner and this Longhorns pitching staff. Schlossnagle credits Weiner for making his pitchers quote-unquote unique, and it's safe to say that confidence is not an issue on the bump for this pitching staff.
It's just more self-confidence over skill confidence. Like, we already know we're good enough to pitch here. That's why we're here, and it's just having the confidence in yourself to be, the best pitcher in the world when you're out there. The positive reinforcement, that's one of my big deals is, if you have a bad thought, never say it to yourself. Just put it away and, think of something good that happened. Like, you could have given up a home run, but it's like, yeah, you still competed, and I wouldn't change anything about it.
Ruger was outstanding his first start, did a really nice job against an awesome offense, and we made some nice plays behind him. Just huge that we only had to use 2 pitchers in that game, which sets us up hopefully for a little bit better setup on Tuesday night, which therefore sets us up for next weekend.
This Longhorn Series victory against the number 2 LSU Tigers moves them to 5-1 in SEC Conference play. Good for first so far in the young season. The Longhorns will travel to Columbia, Missouri to face off against the Missouri Tigers this coming weekend. For TSTV Sports, I'm Joseph Duffey.
What an awesome atmosphere at the Dish for Texas and LSU. Finally, one of the best days in sports, MLB Opening Day, is this Thursday. Who will be able to compete along with the World Series champion LA Dodgers? Let's go to Joseph Duffey for an Unhooked segment.
Thanks, Santi. It is indeed one of my favorite times of the year coming up this Thursday as Major League Baseball returns to action. But what can we look forward to? Firstly, we have to talk about the team that is being talked about as the new evil empire, of course, referencing the reign of terror that the Yankees dynasty went on in the late 90s and early 2000s, dominating MLB and being one of the most hated teams in the modern era. With the LA Dodgers, it is understandable why they have garnered so much hate as of late. They currently have 4 former MVPs in Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and now an old man, Clayton Kershaw. They have all the money in the world to sign anybody they want, and they have done it yet again by signing the young Japanese sensation Roki Sasaki. The 20-year-old Sasaki has a blazing 101-mile-per-hour fastball that he could throw since high school and has already accumulated a 29-15 record with a 2.10 ERA in Nippon baseball. People simply didn't want to admit it, myself included, that this young phenom was LA bound. He's been scouted by the Dodgers organization for 5+ years and has already been confirmed for the opening day roster. As if the rich couldn't get richer, the Dodgers have somehow improved their bullpen by signing Kirby Yates off a career year with Texas and Marlins closer Tanner Scott. They also signed Michael Conforto and have re-signed some of their postseason heroes in Teoscar Hernandez and Kike Hernandez. And then, of course, they found a way to sign 2-time Cy Young winner Blake Snell to a 5-year deal. People can hate on this team all they want, but clearly their track record shows that they know how to develop talent, and players flock to them because they want to win in their careers. So who are other teams to watch out for besides the heavily favored Dodgers? The Texas Rangers are a team that's looking to bounce back after one of the worst title defense seasons in the history of MLB and North American sports, finishing 78-84 in 2023. The offensive drop-off, of course, was one of the big topics, being a top 3 team offensively to being near the 3rd tier of the league last season. So the Rangers front office, led by Chris Young and Ross Fenstermaker, decided to go back to the roots that made the Rangers World Series champions in 2023. Texas signed 32-year-old Jock Peterson from the Diamondbacks off a career season, slashing .275 with 23 homers and 64 RBIs to help bolster the middle of the lineup. Peterson had bounced around the league these past 4 seasons and has really settled into being a designated hitter, but is a willing outfielder still at his age. And the Rangers also would sign Jake Burger from the Marlins, who had 29 homers and 76 RBIs last season. Now with the departed Nathaniel Lowe, Burger hopes to bring more power and somewhat of a defensive replacement to the former Gold Glover Lowe at first. Finally, you cannot talk about this Texas team without mentioning one of the best pitchers of this era that's coming back and healthy in Jacob deGrom. It's no secret that the 36-year-old legend has had injury setbacks, but he is looking to rebound on the team that he couldn't be on the field to win the World Series. If deGrom and the returning Evan Carter can compete like we've seen in the past, pitching and defense can carry the Rangers to another postseason berth. But if the Rangers want to get on top of the mountain again, they have to figure out this bullpen situation that won't have David Robertson, Jose Leclerc, Kirby Yates, and heroes like John Gray to start this season. Finally, we must talk about the biggest signing of the MLB offseason that shook the entire league. Fresh off an American League pennant, Juan Soto decided to sign with the New York Mets on a record-breaking 15-year, $765 million deal. Already with a crazy resume at just 26 years old, Juan Soto joins a Mets team that finally lived up somewhat to expectations with their massive payroll, albeit being paid mostly to players that are no longer with the team anymore. Now on his 4th team, the fourth-time All-Star and former World Series champion Soto joins the great Francisco Lindor and first baseman Pete Alonso, who the public thought was almost a goner in Flushing before a great postseason run that saw New York reach its first NLCS since 2015. Starting pitching will be an interesting journey for the 2025 Mets as they sign former closer from the Bronx, Clay Holmes, from the Yankees, that will now pitch as a starter and rely on Griffin Canning and underrated starters in Cody Senga and David Peterson. But with this bullpen that still has Edwin Diaz, Reed Garrett, and Ryan Stanek, and now an added AJ Minter, the mighty Mets should be a contender in the NL East and for the pennant. I'm glad to see the MLB again and look forward to another spectacular season for America's pastime. So that's all for me, and I'll send it back to you at the desk, Santi.
Phenomenal job, Joe, and thanks for the biased take. What a season we have in store for 2025. When we return to College Press Box, we'll take a look at this past weekend in Longhorn sports and see what's ahead. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Welcome back to College Press Box. Let's take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports. On Tuesday, Texas held its Pro Day in front of scouts from all 32 NFL teams. Texas had 9 players participate in the Pro Day, including quarterback Quinn Ewers, cornerback Jahdae Barron, and left tackle Kelvin Banks. These Longhorn seniors are now looking forward to April 25th when the NFL Draft officially kicks off.
Texas softball swept Auburn in 3 games in their second SEC Conference series, including 2 5-inning run rule victories. Reese Atwood became the leader in all-time RBI, surpassing Taylor Thorne with 179, and pitcher Tegan Cavan secured all 3 wins in the series. Texas softball looks forward to a game against Stephen F. Austin on Tuesday and then a series against top 20 ranked Mississippi State to end the week.
Texas women's swimming and dive team finished 3rd place in last weekend's NCAA championship, as senior Emma Stickland won her 3rd straight NCAA title in the 200-meter butterfly. Texas has placed among the top 3 teams for the 5th year in a row, the longest stretch for the team since 1992 to 1995. Now, let's take a look at this week in Longhorn sports. Friday, baseball will play at Missouri at 6 p.m. on the SEC Network Plus. Softball will take on Mississippi State 6 p.m. on the SEC Network Plus as well. Saturday, Texas softball faces off against Mississippi State at 2 p.m. Baseball plays at Missouri at 4 p.m. And then Sunday continued. We have the same matchups, Texas baseball at 1 p.m., Texas softball at 1 p.m. as well, both on the SEC Network.
And that will conclude this week's jam-packed return of College Press Box. Please make sure to tune into our other sports shows this week, including College Crossfire Wednesdays airing at 9 p.m., and the One of Those Sports Show on Fridays at 11 a.m. Also, we invite you to follow our coverage on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube at the handle TSTV Sports. Thank you to our analysts, everyone in Master Control, our executive producer Joseph Duffey, and all of our reporters in TSTV Sports. I'm Tyler Strempel, he's Santiago Ortiz. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.